home week. What's it like to come back and see so many familiar faces for you?
You know what? It's great. Edmonton was a real special spot, a special city. Great people, a lot of good people around the organization. So it's always nice to come back. But when the puck's dropped, you better be ready. They've got such a good team that sometimes that part isn't that nice. But we'll be ready.
What stands out about the teams that you coached when you were here?
I'm sorry?
What stands out about the teams that you coached when you were here?
For me, it was the evolution. A lot of things happened in those 4 years. We went from the old building to the new building. We drafted and developed some superstar players that are having an impact not only with the Oilers organization, but in the hockey world. They're power brokers, and they deserve to be. And then again, I remember a lot about the atmosphere and the environment, not only in this arena, but in the community. It's hockey, and Detroit's very, very similar to it. I think you're close enough to the border in Detroit to have that 24/7 Red Wing mentality, and they have it here in Edmonton.
Is there any fair comparison between what you embarked upon in Edmonton and what you're embarking upon here in Detroit?
I think there are some spec. The teams were at a little bit of a different point. Detroit has outstanding players, really good young players. We've got great veteran players. We're trying to develop our McDavids and our Dreisaitl's. We're not quite there yet, but we believe that we can get there. The want, the desire, and the crave to get back into the playoffs is very similar as to when we arrived here with Edmonton. And then the fan support. 2 new buildings that are full every night, and it's passionate like you wouldn't believe it. They expect real good efforts, and if you don't produce that good effort, they'll let you know, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, Todd, what stood out about McDavid and Draisaitl and coaching those 2 talents? I mean, they're special, obviously. What's it like coaching 2 kids like that?
Oh, it's an honor. It's the first word that comes out of your mouth, but their willingness to learn and learn the whole game, I think, is what stood out. They came in as superstar offensive players, but they want to be more than that, and you can see it now, the way they play and how close their team is to a championship is because they were willing to do that. A lot of days were easy. There were a couple hard days here and there, but most of them were easy because they were willing to learn.
You didn't like coaching against them in the LA Edmonton series, obviously. It's tough goal.
Well,
tough goal.
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody likes coaching against them. Like that one's an obvious one, Matty. But we played them so many times in those years that there weren't any more secrets. All the Rubik's Cube, if you want, was solved, and it was who was going to get the better of each team. And fortunately for Edmonton, unfortunately for LA, they did.
Todd, the Four Nations are coming up, and you got to coach Connor the last time.
Yeah.
This best on best occurred. It's been so long. What do you think seeing him on this type of stage can mean to the game?
Well, the environment that we were in was so new, so different with that Team North America. I think a lot of those players were excited about being there and just being able to play in that tournament. Now they go past that, and they crave to belong or be part of their home country. So Connor probably would tell you that it was a great experience, Leon with Team Europe, but they want to play for their countries, and that's what really is the difference. And those players that were on that Team North America, they're the power brokers. They're the superstars in the league right now. It wasn't the case at that time, but it shows you how quick it happens.
Is there any intrigue to you to see him play with or alongside, Sidney Crosby, similar to kind of a Gretzky when you think
well,
so long ago?
I'll be like all of you. I'll be watching. That's going to be some really competitive, good, hard hockey, and it'll be interesting to see what the star players can do together. Sometimes it doesn't work. There's tendencies for players to want to run 20, 22 minutes a night, and all of a sudden you cut back to 12. How does that affect your game? So the coaching staff and the players all have a lot of sacrifice probably to give to each other to make it work. But I think the group of players that are going to all the teams will make sure that happens.
Did you have Red Wing stuff still stuffed in your back of your closet from when you were there in 2008? Jackets and stuff. Did you have?
Well,
let's pull this out.
You know what? Yeah, there's some of that stuff around, but a lot of it has the Stanley Cup logo on it because that's the stuff you tended to keep. That was my last year there, and those are memories and stuff you really don't get rid of. As the years go on and you belong to a number of different organizations, all of a sudden that stuff becomes, a painting shirt or
Does it fit anymore?
well, that too. That too. So it all becomes, more importantly, over and above all of that are the memories with all the organizations, the good people you meet and players you get to coach.
So you're a lifelong time coach like Hitch would be. Do you ever, when you're not working, do you ever say, I'm done? Or is the urge always there when you're watching the games on TV as a coach?
Well, I think the day you get the bad news, you're so pissed off that you wonder if you're going to do this again. Are you going to put yourself in this type of situation to go through this misery again? Let's face it, every coach, every player should give it everything they have. And then somebody walks in and tells you you're not good enough or you're not doing an adequate job. So you feel like, swinging back a little bit. But once you settle down and you settle in and you get your battery recharged, you start watching games and, you find yourself swearing at the TV and you're not even involved in the game. That probably is a pretty good indication that you want to be back in it. So, when that ceases to happen for me, then I'll be done. But I'm not at that point now.
Did your wife say, okay, I've seen enough of you?
Well, the third day in, I think. No, she was.
She didn't say, okay, it's time to get back coaching?
Without her, none of this would have happened. So she was real supportive. She's very protective and real supportive. And, the one thing, when it was time to go back to work, she just looked at me and she goes, you want to do this again? And I said, yep. And she said, I'm all in. So that was a good thing.
You're coming to a team, though, where none of those players were with you in 2008.
No.
So you're trying to learn players that you just saw on TV. I mean, is that difficult? I mean, you've coached in lots of different places.
Yeah. I think that's perhaps the best thing. Simply put, because we get to formulate our own opinion. Trent and I have come in and we've listened a lot, but we've also debated a lot. I don't see it. I don't, I like this. I don't like that. And by no means are we right all the time, but at least we get to create a debate or an argument because we haven't had any of the players before, and I think that's healthy for us.
Todd, what have you learned coaching against these guys as far as defending them and coming out on the right end of the result that you can use and apply with the Wings here tonight?
Well, not enough, because we've been on the wrong end of the results. So, there's no solution for a couple or three or four of their players. You have to play your best game. You have to understand what might happen in certain situations. You have to be prepared for that. And then if you put all your attention on one or two guys, if the rest of the crew's having a good enough night, they can beat you too. So, you know what, we're going to worry about the Red Wings right now. We've got a long path ahead of us, a lot of work to do, and try and focus on growing our game.
Kane, Comfort, Tarasenko, Shines here. What will lineup changes be for tonight?
Vladdy's going to go back in, and we'll decide who comes out.
When you're coming to a new team, what did you first see that, okay, this has got to improve?
Well, for me, the very first thing was the spirit. When you're watching from a distance, you could just see the spirit of the team sag, day after day. And it's easy to walk in and say, hey, guys, you cheer up. Easy for me. I wasn't there. I was watching it in front of my TV. So you're not part of that whole emotional roller coaster that this group was going through. But we really had to work on that, and we don't want to give any of that back. We want to maintain it. So even when it's not going good, we try and find a way to deal with that. And then from there it was systematic or structure stuff, little things that we wanted to address, and we really haven't even got to all of it just because of the lack of practice time.
Different coming in during the season as opposed to starting training camp?
Very, very different for me. Brand new experience. Landed in Detroit on the 26th, woke up on the 27th, and we're coaching. I didn't even know half the names of the guys, and had to apologize to them before the game because I was calling Razor or Raymond. I was calling him Mason Raymond because he used to play in Vancouver. I had Tyler Mott in goal in Swift Current. And they're looking back going, who is this idiot? But it happens. You got to just adjust.
When Pat Quinn here was here, he didn't know the Cogliano's name. He just called him 13.
Yeah, Cogs are. Well, there's still. I know our media guys ask me, well, what do you think about so and so? And I'm thinking, okay, who the hell is that? But it's coming.